So today,
Being recorded.
so today we are going to discuss our electricity bill and our gas bill and what information it has and how to understand it, but also look at the important information in it and the uh, ways of understanding our energy bill and reducing it. I hope some of you have your electricity or gas bills in front of you, and this is just a sample. Every provider has its own template. These are the 3 pages. And a couple of years ago, there has been some regulations regarding the content of the electricity bill. And if we look at page 1 of the electricity bill, we should see the information on the left of this screen. The two items to highlight on the first page, and if you would be, I'd appreciate you looking at yours and seeing if you can see it. One important first item is the one that I've circled on the left-hand side, which is what's called National Metering Identifier, NMI, and this is your meter number. And this is a unique number that you have. The second item is directly beneath that, and it says, and this is by law, it has to be provided by the company, which is, could you save money on another plan? And you'll be surprised how many people that I meet that haven't read this. It says that even with staying with your same provider, you can save money by just calling them or messaging them and saying, I want to change plans to the cheapest available in your company. If we move on, the other important part of the bill is the section 8, which is called Understanding Your Bill. And this gives you a breakdown of how many units you've been using, when you've been using them, and how much each unit costs. And obviously the total amount of your bill. So for example, in this case that I'm looking at, it says peak usage from 6 to 10 p.m., 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., and it gives you the two readings and the difference being the quantity of the number of kilowatt hours, unit of electricity you've used, then the rate, and then the amount charged for that particular amount.
Wasim,
Yes,
my bill has a third one called shoulder.
yes,
Peak
I
off-peak and
will
shoulder.
come to that in a
All
little
right.
while. This is an old one. Uh, the the line above it says supply charge, and it gives you the number of days and the daily rate for supplying you with electricity. And then there is usually peak, off-peak, and shoulder for those using time of use rates, which we'll be talking about in a minute. And then also the next important line is the solar exports, which is if we have solar as the feed-in that of our solar to the grid. Again, it gives you the readings and the number of units you've exported to the grid and how much you are being given per unit, and then the rest of the details. I wish the rates on this particular slide, which was only made, as you can see, 4 years ago, a bill from 4 years ago. I wish the rates are similar nowadays. They're unfortunately higher for how much we pay and lower for how much we get for our solar. But we'll get to the details in a little while. Another significant part of the bill, which you'll see either on page 2 or page 3, is comparing your usage over time with during the period, usually of a year, and it shows you the monthly variations or the seasonal variation of your electricity, which you can look at and hopefully make some sense of. Right, I'm going to move to the next slide now. Most of us now who have solar in our home have so-called smart meters, which are the ones on the right. And smart meters are smart because not only do they record how many units we're using, but when we're using them, as opposed to the old-fashioned mechanical meters on the left-hand side, which I don't think many of us have now. And the plan for Australia is to change all meters to smart meters by 2030. And smart meters enable the charges to be different during different times of the day. And certainly if we have solar, we are very likely to have smart meters. These are the available tariffs or plans. Sorry, are there any questions before I move any further? You can unmute and ask the question if you wish. If there's no noise, it means that so far you're all with me. So,
Sorry.
yes,
Wasim, I have one labeled CL1. Does that mean anything to you for a tariff?
we'll come to it in a minute. Yeah, that's the
Okay.
control load.
Yes. Okay, that's it.
This is one of those tariffs that you can see on this slide. As I said, in the old days, we used to have a single rate, so many cents per unit, and regardless of when we use our electricity, we were charged accordingly. Nowadays, most of us are being charged according to the time of using our system, our electricity, according to the time of day. So the day period is divided into 3, and we'll see another slide showing how the day is divided and what we usually pay on different parts of the day. The next one, fortunately, has been made available, I believe, in New South Wales, but it's not available here. And this one actually penalizes you if for a short part of the day you use a lot of electricity. It's called the demand tariff. It's usually used for larger consumers of electricity like industry or large businesses and so on. The next one is the one you mentioned, Mark, which is a control load. This is a historical tariff, which is still available. This is usually a special tariff which was initiated to encourage people to use electricity during the night, but now it's used during the times of excess electricity. It's cheaper and it's linked with the water heating system normally. If we look at the available plans, there are also wholesale plans which reflect the national electricity market prices, which fluctuate quite violently during a single day, but also during seasons, and it particularly becomes very high during peak demand periods, particularly during a heat wave or a very cold morning. But also it's actually negative. In other words, you get paid for using the electricity, when there is excess supply during the middle of days when not many people are using it. This is available to us as consumers, but it's a very risky thing and it's like gambling, and I certainly don't advise people to use it unless if they are interested in gambling. On top of this, we have the daily supply charge, as we said, and this daily supply charge at the moment is being considered, and it's likely to go up, and we'll see why in a minute. So far, we've been talking about electricity tariffs. The gas tariff is usually a single rate. Often you pay less if you use more. So after a certain number of units of gas, you pay less. And also there is the supply charge. Having gone through all these different plans or tariffs, there is a red box at the bottom right side of the slide, which says, watch out for conditions, extras, discounts, and contracts. So sometimes there are conditions, sometimes there are specific discounts, sometimes there are conditions for using a particular plan. Luckily, there are very few plans now with contracts. Most of them have no contracts, and we can change them literally at will. I think I'm going to continue without showing you this video. Please feel free to see it afterwards by linking to the link at the bottom. It's if you like, a skit made by the Choice organization to tell you how suppliers get around you and try and overcharge you. We'll talk about some of these things, but I think we might as well press on. This is one of the latest offerings which has been announced and will be made available from the 1st of July 2026. So those of us who are able to control their usage, either because they can use most of their power during the middle of the day, or who have electric cars and can charge it during these hours, maybe should consider this. So we're going to have the so-called solar sharer offer. And incidentally, it's available not only for people with solar panels, but for anybody who has electricity. And you literally get 3 hours or more of the day during the middle of the day where we pay nothing for your electricity. But the proviso with that is, as you would imagine, there's no such thing as a free lunch. And the likelihood is we'll be paying a lot more during the other hours, but also this will be likely to be linked with a higher daily supply rate. The plans haven't announced officially, they will be announced towards the end of this month or the beginning of June, and they're all like all other tariffs, which will be updated from the 1st of July as they do every year.
Now, was he
for the new tariffs at the end of the month or the beginning of next month? Sorry, was there a comment?
Yeah, I got a question for you, because the 3 hours of free electricity sounds good, but if you've got solar panels on your roof, that's the period where you're probably exporting anyway. And if you're like us with a battery, that's the period where you want to put your solar into your battery. I'm not sure how this benefits me. I can't quite see it.
Well, I mean, there are many days, like today, for example, where there's not a lot of sunshine, and maybe you do need to charge your battery. You can use the 3 free hours to charge your battery from the grid. Does that make sense? Having said that, when these tariffs are made available, they'll be incorporated into something we'll be talking about in Euro era already, and this is using the calculator of Energy Made Easy to see if such plans are good for you or not based on your pattern of use. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I'll look forward to that because quite honestly, I'm still getting a feed-in with my electricity, even though I'm charging my battery. So um, I'm not sure whether the free electricity is going to benefit me, but I'll wait to
Yeah,
see what they say.
exactly. So in South Australia, I won't be surprised if the time for free electricity will be more than 3 hours because we have plenty of sunshine hours and they want us to use more and more of it. And obviously the purpose is to shift energy use for anything that we can use or we can time to use during those hours. And it's easy to opt in. Obviously, nothing will happen automatically. If you want to opt in, you'll be able to by contacting your provider. All providers are by law are going to provide one, but it's related to the most expensive plan they have, which we'll be talking about in a minute. So this is what we need to watch out for. There'll be higher peak time rates and higher supply charges, and we need to balance it. But
Didn't I
also,
snooze it?
we do have the calculators to enable us to see if it suits us or not. Okay?
Yeah, if you're exporting to the grid, then you're not taking anything in anyway. So, I mean,
No, if you're
yeah, yes, I
exporting
mean,
to the
usually,
grid, obviously, if you are net supplying the grid, you can't uh, get electricity from the grid that day.
yeah.
But
Well, I
there
mean,
may
if
be
you,
other days where you are able to. And as I say, it's also designed so that people like renters, for example, who don't want to put solar panels, can still make use of this particular plan.
yeah,
So the way the time of use tariff works is summarized in this slide. And these hours are not exact by are not provided exactly by all providers, but generally speaking, our peak charge covers the morning period, which is usually 6 to 10 in the morning, and starts again at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and goes up to either midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning. The next period, which is the next, well, the slightly cheaper period, or quite a bit cheaper, I guess, is the so-called off-peak period, which is during the night hours from 1 o'clock or midnight to 6 o'clock in the morning. That's the middle charge. And the cheapest charge is the so-called shoulder charge or shoulder period, which is between 10 and 3 in the afternoon. So please be aware of these words. Even though it's called off-peak, it's not the cheapest. These are some calculations or some results of tracking the how much we are paying in South Australia for our power, and it's actually produced by the St. Vincent de Paul Society, and it tells us that typically we are paying 3,235 if we are on the default market offer, which as I mentioned, is the most expensive offer. And that will be the offer that will also have a version where you get the 3 free hours. Having said that, the average, which includes all consumers in South Australia, the average is just under $3,000 a year. If we compare that with natural gas has gone up a lot in cost, as you probably saw in previous talks. And the typical standard offer cost over $1,600 per year, and on average, it's just under $1,500. Having said that, just so that you know, there are lots of different offers, and it's important to check what plan we're on. It says that the difference between the best and the worst market offer is approximately $575 per annum. And for household with average consumption, the worst electricity demand default market offer is $705 per annum more than the best market offer. So you can see there's a lot to do in shopping around and knowing how to shop around. I'm trying to move to the next slide. Also, just before Christmas last year, there was quite a big report from the ACCC, which had an inquiry about electricity supplies in particular. And the findings were quite certainly surprising. So one of the main findings that only 26.7% of customers are on the best plan offered by their retailer. And if we look at the chart at the top right-hand side of this slide, you will see three components, and it shows what happened in the year 2024 and the year 2025. But in the year 2025, you can see that number, the 26.7, is how many are on the best offer. The rest are not on the rest offer, but the surprising amount is that 20.1% are not on the best offer, even though they have a similar name to a very good offer. So the companies have been providing lots of different offers with the same plan name simply to confuse us. And the rest of them obviously have different plans, but certainly the 3/4 of the population actually are paying more than they should be. And certainly loyal customers on older plans pay more. And there are so many different plans available. If we look at all the regions of Australia, there are 145,000 plans available. And in Australia, even if we look at the providers, there are over 55 providers. Each one of them has quite a number of different plans, and it's no wonder that people are confused. Also, the inquiry showed that the prices have increased by 6% during 2025 for residential customers. Any comment or question before we move on?
Yeah, I mean, these are not your numbers, Wasim, but
These are numbers from the ACCC. There's a report which you can look at.
yeah, I might do that because it seems implausible. It's 145,000 plans
Yes.
from 55
No,
retailers.
there are 55 in South Australia, but there are lots more everywhere else.
55 retailers in Australia, in South Australia?
Yes.
Huh. Okay, I could only name 3.
Oh, well, if you look, you'll find them.
Okay. But even if, okay, that's just Australia. I mean, it just seems extraordinarily big.
I was quite shocked by the number, but there are so many different plans and with minor variations in them by each of the providers.
Yeah.
Should we take some reassurance that at least if you look at the bar chart, the dark blue line and the light blue line aren't that much. I mean, there's differences, but they're not vastly different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes.
So at least
Well, the average, yeah, but there is a certain difference between the average bills. the key message is that if you don't change or at least consider changing your plan or your provider, you're likely to be paying more than you should be, and it could be by quite a large amount.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, can I ask something?
Well,
Look, these
Sure.
plans, do the actual rebates, I mean, not rebates, feed-in tariffs vary between clans? Because that's quite important if you've got solar energy and you don't use much electricity.
The feed-in tariffs do vary, and unfortunately, the feed-in tariffs used to be quite sizable, but in the last year, and the trend continues, some people are paying zero. Some companies are paying 1 or 2 or 3 cents per unit we feed in. And the only fortunate people are the early adapters who started using panels well 10 or more years ago. In that case, they are still getting the 46 or the 48 or the 50 cents per unit, but this ends in the middle of 2028. The rest are paying less and less, and that's why everybody's now heading to getting batteries. Okay?
Can I make a comment that's
Sure.
probably worth making? I routinely go through Energy Made Easy or some other comparison site every time my rates go up, which is basically every year. So it means I change my provider pretty frequently every year. I recently changed to NG, who got into big trouble with the ACCC or somebody for overcharging people more than was on their contract, and apparently people didn't notice they were being charged double. And I got my first bill, and it was a bit bigger than I thought, but it was only for a month, so I didn't pay much attention. Then 3 months later, I got a 3 month bill, which is nearly triple what I'd normally be expected to pay. And so I spent 2 days going through the bloody thing to try and find out what was going on. And I found out they read two numbers off my meter. One is the power that I've consumed, and the other is the power that I've fed into the system.
Right.
And they were charging me 45 cents for both. So don't assume that their arithmetic is correct. To give them due credit, when I complained, they said, "Oops, sorry," and they promptly fixed it and gave me a credit.
Yeah, well, that I
Don't
haven't come
trust their
across.
numbers.
Yeah, that's something new to me. I haven't heard that one before, but it shows how important it is to look at your bill.
Wasim, looking at the bill in front of me,
Yeah,
it says, based on your past usage, our Lumo basic plan may cost you up to $43.80 less per year than your
Yeah.
current plan. Now, $43.80 is just a sort of maybe. There's no sort of confidence limits either side, and it's so wishy-washy that I never bothered doing anything about it.
Yeah, but let me tell you how they work out this amount. And again, they have to do this by law. They look at your last 12 months of consumption pattern and work out their different plans and see that there is a plan which is $48, which would have cost you $48 less than you are paying now. So it's based on numbers. So if you want, you can certainly change by just calling them or sending them a message. Yeah, it's not based on conjecture. It's actually number crunching.
And number crunching of my own consumption, not some
Of
sort
your
of
own consumption at the times of you've consumed your electricity during every hour of the last 12 months. Yeah. So it is worth looking at that and obviously changing, and it's easy to change within the same provider. But obviously, if you want to do the next best thing, which is actually check that other providers can't even beat that. Okay, let's move on now. And this is where
Sorry, Cliff had a question, but Cliff, you have to unmute yourself because he can't see you.
sorry.
Cliff had a question, but he needs to unmute himself.
Sorry, Cliff, go on.
I've just unmuted. The easiest way to get a comparison, which isn't from a sales organisation, these compare the markets are sales organisations, and they'll get a cut from your bill. The easiest way is to go to the Energy Made Easy site, but you do have to be careful that when the rates change in July, it takes about 2 months for Energy Made Easy to catch up. So if you're going to review your bill, wait for about 2 months after the rates have all changed, and then go to Energy Made Easy, and it does indeed make it easy. It does work very well.
Thank you for this comment. And as you can see, the slide here has the link to Energy Made Easy. Can I just say that, to my knowledge, by law, the providers have to announce their new tariffs for the following year, I think by the middle of June. And Energy Made Easy will include all the correct tariffs right at the beginning of July, because Energy Made Easy actually relies on, it's a government site, and it's got all the official tariffs. You don't have to wait 2 months before it all comes in. Maybe in the past you had to, but now maybe within a week or two after July the 1st, you should be able to use Energy Made Easy and be confident that all the tariffs are the correct ones. That's my understanding according to government resources. And can I also give a proviso here that please have a go yourself at Energy Made Easy, maybe after this discussion. And if you have any issue associated with conditions or with numbers you're getting or with understanding what it's telling you, please feel free to contact me by email, and I'm happy to go through it with you. Okay. But certainly I always recommend Energy Made Easy because it's independent, it's government side, it's up to date. It's not perfect, but it's the best possible way of getting the best deal. This is a sort of summary of how to get the most out of our utility bills. So apart from getting the best deal, we have to consider there are lots of discounts being made available. Some are temporary and some are permanent. We have to look at those. There are concessions offered by, we had a couple of years where the federal government gave us a little bit of reduction on our electricity bill, which went directly into our bill. That had stopped a while back from the beginning of the year, I believe. However, those of us who are on one concession or another can still get a discount from government, and we'll see the amount of discount, but also there's a particular discount offer which the government has negotiated with Origin Energy, where you get 20% of the default market offer for electricity and 15% for gas and 40% for the LPG, which I was surprised to see. Having said that, let me also give you a word of warning that this offer we found in some cases to end up higher than some of the offers available through Energy Made Easy without this discount. So once you've done your Energy Made Easy, it's worth comparing with what this particular plan offers. If you and Origin are quite happy to give it to any senior like us, and I believe all of us here are seniors, so I think it is available to us, but it's worthwhile seeing what other offers are available before jumping onto that, and there are many cases where there are better offers available. So I think the rest also, the other things worth talking about, there are particular ways of dealing with hardship, and I certainly meet up with a number of people who can't pay their electricity bill, and I'll mention this in the next slides. Hopefully you can tell people who are struggling with their energy bills to go about. So this is the page which summarizes all the subsidies available to us, and it is, I'm happy to say, it's reasonably up to date. So we still get some subsidy for our photovoltaic solar panels if we want to install them, but this subsidy keeps decreasing, but the cost of panels has come down quite a lot, and it'll be zero by 2030, and so does a number of other subsidies, including the battery subsidy and which we talked about last time. Again, it decreases every 6 months, and certainly it was reduced a lot recently, and it will again move to zero by 2030 gradually. The other point which I'd like to highlight, and I'm in two minds about, there are things called virtual power plants which a number of providers make available, and I think we mentioned in a previous discussion. These virtual power plants give some control of your battery to the provider. You get paid for that, the privilege of the provider to take some of your battery stored energy to feed into the grid when there is a specific need, when there is a shortage of supply. Electric vehicles, as we know, the prices have come down, but there is still a very good exemption from FBT, which is quite a serious tax reduction, which you get if you are employed by an employer who deals with leasing cars. So there has been a change of the maximum cost of the car that is getting that exemption. It's now $75,000, but certainly we can get vehicles now which go down to the $30,000 mark and get the exemption. But this exemption will stop by the year 2029. I don't think it's useful for us as seniors, but certainly it'll be useful for people, particularly on reasonably high salaries. There's also a subsidy for heat pump water heaters and solar water heaters, which again is due to run out by 2030. But certainly there's something like $1,000 worth for using a heat pump system. For those people holding a concession card, there's an annual subsidy by government to the tune of $281.78, which people have to apply for there are a number of relief mechanisms, but this is particularly for energy bill support. So if you know people with concession cards who are not getting it, they can apply to the government and get it, and then it gets deducted from the bill in a direct way. The other thing which I find quite useful, particularly people who are struggling with their bills, if they see a financial counselor, they can actually make use of another scheme offered by government called the emergency electricity payment, which can actually take away $800 from your electricity bill through the use of the counselor. But you have to go through a counselor who will look at your situation, and they can get you to apply for this. The final subsidy available, which is not really available at the moment, and this is something that the SA government started 3 or 4 years ago, called REPS, the Retailer Energy Productivity Scheme, which makes retailers subsidize some of the more energy efficient appliances and products. Having said that, for the last few months and even now, it's being reviewed, and the review hasn't produced any outcome, so we can't use it at the moment. We await the announcement of the review outcome. Any question before we move on? Okay. So in summary, obviously, to reduce our energy bills, we have to reduce our consumption as much as possible, be sensible with it. Certainly, in many cases, well, I think I'd go as far as saying in 99% of the cases, installing a solar system is beneficial. Installing a battery, as we discussed earlier, could be positive or negative depending on your circumstances. Electrifying our home is going to be the way to go. And certainly my advice is, if you have something running on gas at the moment and it gives up the ghost, consider the electrical replacement. Certainly using electricity at the best time, at the cheapest time, or when we are generating it or getting it free, is the best way of doing it. And obviously using smart appliances which we can control to operate during those hours of ample electricity is a good idea. Understanding and watching our bill and regularly reviewing it is very important. And if you need some advice about how to use your energy wisely in our household, there's a free guide, and the link to it is available, and you'll be getting this recording and can find the guide, which is quite detailed. This is another way of looking at it, and this is a little poster which I had a hand in developing, which probably says about the same thing, but with some graphics, and hopefully it brings the point home in various ways. I'm not going to comment too much on that. It repeats a lot of what I've been saying. And if you want to look further, this is a list of websites which are available to us. Certainly, the SA government keeps updating the available information. There are some councils which provide reasonable materials, and for example, there was a group of councils called the Resilient East who produced and made available a lot of guides. There are lots of online guides from other people. If you're looking at building a new home or doing major renovations, certainly my advice is to look at quite a comprehensive, very detailed guide available on the web called Your Home. The other point for electrification, or the other useful web page, which is Rewiring Australia, and then the last few websites are specifically for people who are renting, who obviously need to do different things to people owning their own homes. I think we've come to the end of this presentation, and maybe we can stop the recording now.